there, and welcome back to Penny Saves Paldea, where I take the fails of Scarlet and Violet and turn them into a generous dose of copium-laced fanfiction. These next few chapters will focus on the poor NPCs, both people and Pokemon, who fall victim to the game's bugginess. Let's review which fails will be written into the story today. We will start off with a logic fail, the Cave of Nothingness. Pokemon don't normally appear in cutscenes. For good reason, as they can be pretty distracting, but they usually just keep their distance from the action. The Herba Mystica caves take this to a different level. You can't even enter these caves after you leave. It's just a dark barrier. And players who did find Pokemon glitching into existence here would see them blink and vanish. Seems the cave with the life-saving herbs doesn't want any living creatures inside of it. Glitch alert, the lost picnic ball. Lots of weird stuff can happen in picnics. One would hope you could play a simple game of fetch. But if the ball gets too far away, it'll go beyond your reach to retrieve it, and you can only pack up and hope it responds at your next picnic site. Oh, and I liked that one too. Glitch alert, the dangers of selfies. This glitch and its variants will be the main focus of this chapter. Taking a selfie seems like the natural thing to do in co-op, but it caused some players to disappear from their friend's view. You can also vanish mid-selfie in solo mode when you're too close to a wall. In the newest update of the game, the NPCs can disappear when you take a selfie. Our friend Selfie Sal here is not happy, but we'll get to his story in a second. Let's start off with Juliana and Arvin leaving a Titan's cave after their latest Herba Mystica harvest. Mabosif is now happily stuffed. Arvin repacks the picnic supplies and leads the way out of the Titan's cave into the sunlight. He feels pretty good about confiding in Juliana, both about his sick Pokemon and the strange events that have been happening to him lately. Some people just have an air of significance about them. Usually it comes with odd clothes. That quiet girl Penny with the Pokeball sweatshirt and the Eevee backpack, she'll probably do something epic before she graduates. And Juliana with her neon, just barely regulation uniform, that's a save-the-world look if Arvin's ever seen one. I'm carrying a giant bag, he thinks. Maybe I'm important too. He chuckles half-heartedly. Being the kid of someone in the news is enough stress and heartache for him. Then he notices Juliana's footsteps have stopped. In a panic, he whirls around, but she hasn't disappeared or anything. She is staring intently at the cave they just left. Everything okay? Arvin asks, not sure if he should approach or wait.
There were a bunch of Pokemon walking around while we ate in there,
she says.
But they disappeared the second we packed up to leave.
Maybe they ran off? Arvin says. Not the most sound of suggestions. Everyone knows some wild Pokemon will flee from you, but just as many will charge at you full force and liberate half your supplies. Arvin has lost more than one picnic bouncy ball by rolling it too far into energetic wild Pokemon territory. In summary, the odds of a cave full of Pokemon being scared enough to bolt without a trace are pretty low.
I don't think they ran,
Juliana says.
It's more like they blinked out of existence.
Staring at the void-like mouth of the cave, Arvin can't argue. Yeah, guess so, he says, listening for a moment longer. Nothing. Not even the sound of scampering feet. Could the same flickering his body's been doing also happen to nearby Pokemon? He opens and closes his hand for reassurance. So, not that I'm complaining, but you don't seem too weirded out by any of this. At all.
Should I be?
Juliana says with a shrug. Arvin jabs a finger back at the cave. My hand went through a rock while making a sandwich in there, so yeah, seems weird enough.
Oh, right. I guess so.
Juliana rubs the back of her head and hurries away from the cave. She motions forward beyond the sparse grass to the road proper.
Now come on. I want to get moving.
Arvin nods and walks alongside her. When they defeated the first Titan, he left her behind right away, which was kind of rude looking back on it. This time, he'll stick with her until it makes sense to leave. So, what do you think is causing all this? He asks, trying for a casual tone. One that suggests he has his own valid theories for vanishing Pokemon and ghost appendages, and is simply looking to her for a second opinion. Juliana avoids his gaze while she considers her reply.
Hard to say, though I suppose. Do you think it has something to do with those herbs you're gathering?
The Herba Mystica? Of course not. Arvin huffs at the suggestion and widens his stride until they reach the road. Juliana jogs to catch up with him, the zipper on her bag jingling like a tiny bell.
But you're the one investigating them. And you're the only person I know who had this happen to you more than once.
Oh? Arvin's quick burst of anger morphs into genuine curiosity.
The truth is, I've seen this weird stuff happen with other students.
Juliana continues, now taking the lead down the road. A few Rookidee cock their heads as she passes them.
But it's always a one-time thing, and they insist they imagined it. Or it's their Pokemon's ability or something.
Sounds frustrating.
It is!
Juliana says. Her voice jumps in volume and the Rookidee scatter. Juliana clamps her hand over her mouth. Her gaze shifts, moving past Arvin, to the looming haphazard fence with dark, star-embroidered flags.
Guess I lost the element of surprise, huh?
What element of surprise?
Arvin whispers back.
Don't you ring a bell to start one of these raids or whatever?
She blushes and nods. Then she smooths her shirt before marching toward the gate in search of said bell. Arvin follows, keeping a healthy distance behind. The guard at the gate gives Juliana little trouble. Arvin fully expects to go his own way once Juliana steps inside. Instead, she motions for him to follow her. The guard doesn't like this and insists it's one challenger at a time. Juliana replies that Arvin won't fight, and even if he does, how many guards plan to attack her at the same time? The guard concedes and lets them both through.
You sure about this?
Arvin says nervously.
Not that I can't take these guys, but...
His eyes widen as they clear the entrance. This place is no highly defended fortress. It's more like a large campsite, with some scaffolding turned bleachers and rental tents in Team Star white and yellow. A flimsy plastic scoreboard sits in the center, and the only electronic items are a few dated vending machines. Arvin's heard rumors about Team Star's connection to Paldea's ongoing strange occurrences. No one really knows what they do in their base camps all day, other than skip class and wait for people to challenge them. But even with his limited, or at least dated, knowledge of the group's inner workings, he can't see them involved with any reality-altering shenanigans now, especially when they barely seem capable of keeping the drinks in the vending machines cold. "Welcome!" blares a loud voice from the static-clogged speakers. It has a deep feminine tone with a punch of confidence and authority. "Now, you might think you're a big deal coming here to challenge us, but you should know we think you're a pretty small deal, don't we?" A chorus of cheers rises up from the grunts around them, some who circle the center area of the camp, some who watch safely from the scaffolding. Several throw Pokeballs, which open to reveal a variety of dark types, all snarling and ready for battle. Juliana releases her Tinkatuff, and several of the Pokemon back away. "Anyway, you're so small a deal," continues the announcer, "that even though our boss Giacomo is totally here right now, you won't even see him, because we'll take you out first." The crowd cheers again, though less confidently than before. A pair of Cactoon runs forward, but an ice hammer knocks them right back. The grunt by the scoreboard flips the numbers from 0 to 2. "You should know Giacomo is very strong," the announcer cuts in, as Juliana runs the inside perimeter of the camp, ordering her Pokemon to charge in front of her. "And he would so destroy you in battle if he faced you. Which he won't, because you'd have to beat like 30 of us in a row for that to..." Tinkatuff laughs maniacally as no less than 8 Zorua bolts from the next swing of her hammer. Sweat glistens on the scorekeeper's face. The grunts along the fences throw themselves into a ball-chucking frenzy, releasing one Pokemon after another, none of which have any hope of putting a dent in Juliana's team. Arvin does his best to stay out of the way, but with the bulky bag on his shoulders, he isn't as agile as he'd like. As Juliana fells her 29th Pokemon, a grunt behind Arvin throws one more ball at full force. He winces, anticipating from the whoosh of wind that he's about to receive a sizable clunk on the back of his head, which is a pretty scary thought. The ball passes right through him. The riled-up crowd goes silent. Arvin slowly opens one eye.
Crap, did anyone see that?
The scene is blurry from squeezing his eyes shut, but he spots two things right away. One last Zorua fainting at Tinkatuff's feet, and the entire Team Star crowd staring at him. No one moves. No one says a word. There's a crack of static on the loudspeaker, followed by a lull of extremely awkward silence, before the announcer grunt's voice returns with a simple, hold please." Then the mic turns off. The grunts take it as a cue to start rapid-fire whispering among themselves. Except their whispering is even louder than Arvin and Juliana's was outside the base.
Did you see?
Went right through him.
Of course I saw. I'm standing right next to you. Aren't I?
That's how it started with Selfie Sal.
Against his better judgment, Arvin takes the bait and steps up to the nearest grunt.
Excuse me, but who's Selfie Sal?
Who's... Oh, right. Guess you wouldn't know.
The grunt pulls a dirty handkerchief from his pocket and dabs at his reddening eyes with the cleanest corner.
Selfie Sal loved selfies. Then one day, he noticed he could wave his hand and would go right through stuff. Thought this was pretty cool. Took even more selfies. That very afternoon, he waved at his camera, clicked the shutter, and...
The grunt blows loudly into the handkerchief, and Arvin takes a slow step away.
Still think I'm being affected by this more than most?
He asked Juliana, who looks close to tears herself.
I'm so sorry. And you never saw Selfie Sal again?
Huh?
The grunt pockets the handkerchief and raises an eyebrow at her.
Of course we did. Sal came right back. Hey, Sal!
The grunt waves his arm wildly. Hey, Marv! A near-identical guy across the grassy field returns the gesture. Marv drops his hand and continues.
Of course, Sal's favorite camera did fall in a lake when he vanished, and can't afford a replacement. Hasn't been the same since.
Does his hand still go through stuff?
Arvin asks. Marv shakes his head.
Nah, if it did, he'd have gone with Giacomo to visit Rugby Squad this morning. That's where they're gathering everyone who's been affected by this weird stuff long term.
Would you say that describes you? Says a voice behind them. Arvin and Juliana both startle and turn to see another grunt, the one whose voice they recognize from the speakers. She's a bit taller than the others, with dark hair and a confident stride. I mean, you didn't seem upset when one of our Pokeballs went through you. Just worried we would notice. So I'm guessing you've had problems with this for a while now? Arvin's grip on his backpack tightens.
It's been a few weeks. Okay, maybe more like a few months, but...
The crowd breaks into gasps and murmurs, these ones quiet enough for Arvin to miss the exact words. The tone, however, is as clear as a 30-minute day. Few other people have been dealing with these issues as long as he has. Would you mind coming with us to the Rugby Squad's base? The announcer grunt says, her voice rising in pitch as she claps her hands together. Pretty pleased with the star pick on top?
It's not far.
Marv adds.
Northern Province Area 3. We might even be able to help you.
Wait, Giacomo's not here?
Juliana asks.
Did I defeat your squad or not?
Okay, technically yes, but you've got to admit there's bigger problems right now. The announcer replies. Don't be a bully and get all hung up on beating other people down.
You think we're the bullies?
Arvin thinks, keeping his wits enough not to say it aloud. So far, Team Star hasn't forced them to do anything. They've been pretty friendly, all things considered, which contradicts everything Arvin knows about Team Star as a whole. Then again, maybe they've changed recently. In either case, he feels obligated to follow along with them for now, which is a real inconvenience. Hopefully, it pays off. That'll wrap up this chapter. Hope you guys enjoyed it because it was definitely fun to write. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It makes an extra big difference to a tiny channel like mine. Once again, thanks to Stick Studios for the ending animation and providing Juliana's voice. And thanks to Mad Hat for voicing No Selfie Marv. Be back again in 2 weeks. Thanks and bye.